For we are to God the fragrance of Christ. 2 Corinthians 2 verse 15. Welcome to my channel. I'm so excited today. So if you're new here, welcome. And what we do here on Top Notes by Tokwe. By the way, my name is Tokwe. And so here we have fragrance related content. We have fragrance reviews, fragrance tips, and fragrance hauls. So if you're new here and you like all these things I've just mentioned, I would really be glad if you subscribe. If you're also returning and you keep watching but you're not yet subscribed, I would also be glad if you subscribe. And to my returning subscribers, welcome. How is everything going with you? I'm fine. And today in the video, we have a comparison video. I want to compare Swiss Arabian's Shaghaf Oud, and then I want to compare that with Lancome's Oud Bouquet. There's been a lot of talk that these two fragrances are very similar. So if you want to know my thoughts, my tea, I want to spill the tea on both fragrances. So if you're interested in knowing these, without much ado, let's get into the video. So welcome back. I'm going to start, I was going to initially start with the Oud Bouquet, the Shaghaf Oud, but I thought I should start with Oud Bouquet because that is the one that they say Oud Bouquet, Shaghaf Oud is a clone of or is a dupe of. So let's start. So this one right here, this is how it looks. It's gold. There's like a flower that has been engraved. The bottle is gold, very beautiful. Like I said, I don't like turning gold bottles because the portion where you touch would have your fingerprint on it. But this is the bottle. This is how it looks. Very pretty gold bottle. So I'm going to spray it, this one here. And as it's drying off, I'm going to go into the notes. Yes, I found it finally. So for Oud Bouquet, what it has is saffron at the top. It has rose and oud, and then it has praline and vanilla at the base. So honestly, what I smell is more of the rose and then the oud. The saffron doesn't come to the fore in this for me at all. So it's a very jammy rose, very slightly, it's it's a very heavy rose. It's very jammy. It's very gourmandish. And then the oud here is quite pungent, but it is not a bad pungent. Like, that is a very good quality oud fragrance. The praline comes in a bit, and it's the praline that gives it that gourmandish feel that it has with the vanilla at the base. So it's very beautiful. This is super long lasting. And then the thing is that the kind of oud that was used in the Lancome Oud Bouquet here gives it a bit of incensey feel to the oud. It becomes slightly incensey, slightly smoky when it begins to dry down. It is a very potent fragrance, this one. So, but it's also very sexy. This is quite heavy because of the jammy nature of the rose in it, and then the oud. So this one is one that you need to use very lightly. It's very long lasting. I don't do more than 4 or 5 sprays of this, and I usually don't need to touch up. It's a very, very, very strong fragrance. It smells very expensive. It smells very bougie, and I like how it just, as soon as you put it on, it just, that this is a very good fragrance. And the way the mix of the oud, the vanilla, the rose, and the praline gives it this gourmandish oud fragrance that it's very nice. So it is super unisex, but for some reason, because of the praline in it, I kind of feel like it leans a bit more feminine. But I mean, my husband likes this fragrance a lot, so I think that it's a very nice unisex fragrance. And also, like, it is not overly gourmandish. Like the praline here is not too much to make it sickening or cloyingly sweet. And then also is like it has this very Middle Eastern, it's a beautiful translation of a Middle Eastern fragrance. It is, I don't know, I think that this is, I don't have the new one, I don't have the new formulation, so I cannot say, but I know that this one is very deep. The notes here are very deep, they last very long, and it's just a very beautiful fragrance, this Oud Bouquet. It's not like any, it's a unique oud fragrance and it stands on its own. I know that there's been different transitions and translations of this fragrance. There's been different ways that it has been, but it is not, if you smell Oud Bouquet and you smell the other ones, you just know that it is a different fragrance. It's in a class of its own. This is a really beautiful fragrance. I really enjoyed it. It's for nights out, it's for first dates, it's just when you want to smell powerful. I use it during the day too, but I don't use too much, especially when the weather is hot, because this fragrance gets more powerful and much bigger as the weather gets hotter. So I mean, it could be a good thing and it could also be a bad thing, because if you use a little and then it begins to get too much, then you understand. But it's very beautiful. It lasts long on my skin. It has also a big sillage. It has a big projection, and then longevity. Honestly, with my 4 to 5 sprays, I have at least a 7 to 8 hour wear on it, and on my clothes it could go 10 to 12 hours, because I remember there was a time where I spritzed it in a dress, then I hung the dress, and when I opened my wardrobe I could smell Oud Bouquet in my wardrobe. So I realized that, okay, for this fragrance, if you use it, the dress you wore, don't hang it back, just put it on the chair. You know that chair where the clothes are not dirty enough to go into the laundry, but they're not also clean enough to be in the closet? That chair, I know you have one in your room, don't you? We all have one, that chair. So that's like about the fragrance Oud Bouquet. Very great fragrance. So the next one is this right here. This is Shaghaf Oud by Arabian Oud. Shaghaf Oud by Swiss Arabian. That's the Arabian Oud. This was by Swiss Arabian. And that if you want to compare, even if we want to compare side by side by looks, you can see that they are all gold bottles. So I think that's one thing you can say. And then they have the writing. But here on the Oud Bouquet, they kind of engrave the writing through the bottle. But this one is like this, very beautiful. It says Shaghaf Oud and then Swiss Arabian. Very beautiful. It has these, let me clean the back as usual. It has these cross signs at the back. I don't know what it means. Love, love, XX. This at the back. And then again, let's spray it. So when we spray, I will go on to notes for you, just so that we can let the fragrance breathe on my skin. So for this, top notes is oud and saffron. And then middle notes, you have praline, oud, rose, and then in the base note you have oud and vanilla. So I mean, in the notes list it is the same, but how they present, they are different. I think I'll talk about Shaghaf Oud on its own and then now compare the two. Okay, so just at the top on Shaghaf Oud, you smell the saffron. So the saffron opens up, very bright, very beautiful, spicy saffron, very, very beautiful. It gives a bit of an airiness. So if you've used saffron, saffron is a spice that is very beautiful. It's called red gold sometimes, and it just gives some form of airiness yet spiciness to it, and just the little kick that the fragrance needs at the top. And then it goes into this beautiful oud. The oud here is not, it's a very beginner friendly oud. So if you're one that is not into oud, the oud in Swiss Arabian's Shaghaf Oud is the oud to ease into. Like, it's a beginner level oud that you can easily pull off. It is very, very mild. It's nothing heavy. It doesn't do too much. And then it begins to go down. You smell the oud and then the rose in the heart, but the rose is very floral. It's not a very jammy rose. It's a very light floral rose, very beautiful. So again, if you're one that is not a lover of rose, you can tolerate this rose. It's nice. And then after this rose goes out, there's still some oud there that is still working with this rose, and it's very beautiful. So it's in the middle, like I said, you have your rose, you have your oud, and then you have the praline. So that's where the gourmandishness starts coming in. So the praline begins to usher in some beautiful gourmandish. So it's just like rose, a sweet rose with oud in it. Very beautiful, but it's very airy. It's not heavy, it's not too jammy. And then it goes into the base. I'm not at the base yet, but because I've used it before, I know how the base, it now begins to get this sweet vanilla-ness that mixes with the praline and with extra oud in it to make it very, very beautiful. This is a very light, sweet, gourmandish oud fragrance that is beginner friendly. It's very optimal for somebody that is just, you know, dipping their feet, trying to get their feet wet in the oud business, because I know that oud is not a note that everybody can easily gravitate towards. I feel like even for me, it took some time for me to start gravitating towards oud, and even at that, I don't try some oud. You know, the oud in some niche fragrances, Lord, you know, when you smell it, you're like, gosh. And they usually, some are quite animalic, and I don't like animalic fragrances for any reason. Like, I don't want to smell animalic. I don't know. I'm still testing my nose on those. So just to say that this oud is very beginner friendly, and it is very nice. It is very light, and it's very airy. So now to compare this two, so if you compare Lancome's Oud Bouquet to Shaghaf Oud by Swiss Arabian. So what I'm going to say is that, you know, Lancome opens with the saffron, but on my skin, I don't smell saffron. It just comes on my skin. I think there's no saffron in it. It's just saffron at the beginning, but I don't smell saffron. For my skin, I go straight to the rose and the oud, and then from there, there's vanilla and praline. I think the difference is that they have the same ingredients, but it's just a different arrangement of it. So for Shaghaf Oud, you get the oud and then saffron first, but on my skin I smell more saffron in the beginning before oud. Then you get into praline and oud and rose in the middle, but in Oud Bouquet you get to just oud and rose, and then at the base here you get rose and oud and vanilla. But for the other one, I mean Lancome Oud Bouquet, you get vanilla and praline. So it's just the different position. It's the same ingredients, and I just think that for me the saffron doesn't come out for me in Oud Bouquet, and then also the oud here is a bit more pungent, and then when it dries down to a very incensey, deep smoky kind of oud, whereas this one in Shaghaf Oud is a very light fragrance that is oud fragrance that is gourmandish. It's not as heavy, it's not as jammy as the Oud Bouquet. I can say that it is very similar, yet it is not the exact thing. They have certain nuances in them. I would say that this Shaghaf Oud by Swiss Arabian can go for daytime use, whereas this one could go for nighttime use, because this is very airy because of the saffron and then the praline, the way they put it. And then remember that in as much as the ingredients are the same, we're not very sure of the proportions of these ingredients that they put in it, the notes. We don't know how much proportion of oud was in the top notes or was not in. So I think that they're similar. If you ask me similarity rate, I must say that they might be 50% similar if you're not smelling them side by side. But if you're smelling them side by side, I think that they're just too, they're not okay. So if you're smelling them side by side, let me correct this. I think that I would say that they are maybe 70 to 80% similar. But if you put them side by side, they are 50%. They are not the same. This is, for me, is much lighter, much sweeter. This is much deeper put together. The rose here is very jammy, very thick. It could be slightly sticky. So I could say that if you're looking for Oud Bouquet light, this is it, Shaghaf Oud. So if you've tried Oud Bouquet and it was too heavy, it was too jammy, it was just too much for you, then Shaghaf Oud will work for you, because this is very light, very airy. And I think that if you're one that hasn't yet, you're just wetting your feet in the oud business, Shaghaf Oud would do for you. But I think that I want to say that Shaghaf Oud standing on its own, I kind of feel like it's not fair to Swiss Arabian to say that as a dupe. It might be similar, but I think that Shaghaf Oud on its own is a beautiful fragrance without it being even trying to be a dupe of any fragrance. It's a very beautiful fragrance. So that's what I'm going to say. Comment down below. Tell me if you had any experience with the two. Tell me what you think about it. And then, again, I forgot to mention that this is super long lasting. The first day I got it, I used it at night. I just did 2 sprays, I think 2 or 3 sprays. I slept, I woke up, and for nights after, I could still smell it in my pillow. So that's how long lasting. This on its own, when I wear it 4 to 5 sprays too, it gives me a good 7 to 8 hours on my skin, and then in my clothes it gives me 10 to 12 hours. So it's super long lasting. It smells fantastic. It is gourmandish. It is light. It's just entirely a very good fragrance. And you had Brownie back. He is just agreeing with the fact that Shaghaf Oud on its own is a good fragrance. So don't forget to comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. If you've had any experience with any of these twos, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you liked this video, if you enjoyed, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also share it. It helps the channel. It helps me. And like I always say, stay safe, stay centered, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.